Right then, welcome back. It has been an absolute bananas week for football and Manchester United this week. But guess what? There's actually games this weekend, and Manchester United are going to Elland Road tomorrow to face Leeds United, and I wish I could have gone. But alas, we are not going to games just yet, although it does feel like the light is at the end of the tunnel. Leeds currently in 10th position in the table, mid-table, but they're only 4 points off European qualification, and I think that internally they'll be saying we can go for that. I definitely think they'll be saying we can go for that. They are unbeaten in their last 5 games. They've got 3 wins and 2 draws, a run that included playing City and Liverpool, so they don't fear the big teams, and they are a threat to the big teams because they don't fear the big teams. Last time we played them, we absolutely thrashed them. It was 6-2. Undoubtedly one of United's best performances this season. Are we expecting a reaction? If anything, yes, because that's what Bielsa is generally quite good at. So I would absolutely be expecting some sort of a reaction. I think the star man for Leeds is going to be Patrick Bamford. He's got 14 goals and 7 assists, giving him 21 goal involvements in 32 Premier League games, making him the 4th top scorer in the league, which is a hell of an impressive thing for a newly promoted side. Even though his scoring output is impressive, he has had 21 big chances missed in the league, which is more than any player, and 5 more than the nearest player, which is Timo Werner, who's had a shocking season with some of the misses that he had. Bamford is the focal point for Leeds United and is relatively complete in the way he plays football. He can kind of do everything. Not perfectly, but he's pretty good at doing most of the stuff. He's got enough athleticism to get him behind, while he's also pretty physically imposing to be able to hold the ball up and be a threat in the air. And he's also technically quite good. So he is pivotal to Leeds in terms of linking how they play. He has got a bit of an elegant style of play and a very good left foot. He is left-footed, and he's relatively weak on his other foot, on his right foot. He underperforms his overall XG by about 3 goals, but when you actually look into it, it's down to the chances and the big chances that he's missed coming on his right foot or with his head. 10 of his 14 goals have come with his left foot, and he's outperformed his XG on his strong side by 2 goals. He should have only had 8.3 expected goals. So I think it's crystal clear what his weakness is. Don't let him onto his left foot. Force him onto his right foot. Force him you don't really force. It's just one of those that happens. I certainly won't be allowing it either. But if it's with his head or with his right foot, you've got a good chance he's going to miss it. If it's on his left foot, he's absolutely deadly on his left foot. So this is a big one for Victor Lindelof to make sure that he doesn't get turned inside and allow him to come onto that left foot, because that would be a big one. You've got to limit his service. Now, we're going to get into how Leeds play. Very interesting. Massive fan of Bielsa. Really intriguing matchup for United. This really intriguing matchup for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The tactical flexibility that you exhibit with Marcelo Bielsa is frankly ridiculous. And his teams definitely play exactly how he wants them. The thing is, they allow a lot of gaps. And they do things which kind of match up well with United's strengths. So the go-to formation for them this season has been a 4-1-4-1 formation. And although you will kind of know that Bielsa has some funky formations that he likes to exist with, the 3-3-1-3 and also the 3-3-3-1 he's also used. This shape has been the one that he's used consistently in the Premier League this season, even if he has begun to adapt how he plays out and how he builds up during the phases. Predicted 11 for Leeds, it's going to be Ayling, Llorente, Struijk, Alioski, Phillips, Helder Costa, Dallas, Roberts, Harrison and Bamford. There is an injury doubt over Rodrigo, and Forshaw and Rafinha are out. Rafinha for them is a huge miss. I think he's arguably their best player. He's tricky, he's dangerous, he's linked with Manchester United. What Leeds try and do is overload in situ. They try to pick an area of the pitch and go, we're going to overrun you there. And they tend to do that quite well. They press extremely hard. They work extremely hard. In the formation that they're currently using, the 4-1-4-1, Leeds have the possibility to defend with 7 players and also attack with 6 or 7 players and protect a scoreline by overwhelming the midfield if they need to with 6 players. To use 3-3-1-3, all of their players quickly set to attacking positions when the ball is in possession of the other team, and all players press aggressively and recover the ball when they don't have it. It requires great teamwork, great understanding, and a hell of a lot of drilling to be able to get the team to do this. They all have to move and act as one, or they can, and they have been exposed. Leeds are very expansive and they're very expressive in the way that they set up, and they give the opponents a lot of opportunity with their play the ball out at all costs strategy. Leeds have been averaging 58.4% possession this year, which is the 4th best in the league, behind only City, Liverpool and Chelsea, but they have a below average pass success rate of 80%, which suggests that there's an element of risk and adventure to the way they play, but they do also like to dictate position. And I put it to you as well that they're not even dealing with players of the same quality as Manchester City and Chelsea in this as well, and they're dealing with a lot of championship level players. So of course you're going to see the pass percentages a little bit lower than you would at the likes of Manchester City and the likes of Chelsea, 2 teams that like to recycle possession a hell of a lot. Leeds go forward. Leeds have also applied the most defensive pressures in the league, applying nearly 400 defensive pressures than the nearest team. They are extremely aggressive and proactive defensively, playing on the front foot, but it does leave them susceptible and open if you can beat that initial press. This is where Manchester United need to draft in the likes of Paul Pogba, people who are comfortable taking the ball on the turn, comfortable taking the ball under pressure, because that's what you're going to do. And that's why I worry a little bit about Fred in this game, but you also kind of need Fred for the energy to try and match the tempo that Leeds are going to put on you. This is what makes it such an intriguing tactical matchup between Solskjaer and Bielsa. They have conceded 50 goals in the league this season, which is the 14th worst defensive record in the league. They are far from solid. However, they've also scored 50 goals in the league this season, which is the 7th best output this season. But something more telling about how dangerous they can be is that their shot and chance creation. Leeds have completed 163 shots on target, and they're only second to Manchester City in that. They're having a lot of shots. Leeds have completed 163 shots on target, and they only trail City, Chelsea, Liverpool and United. And they've also managed 443 shots in total, which is actually more than United have managed this season. We're on 440. They make chances, they make opportunities, but they are vulnerable at the back if you can get through that hardcore initial press when they lose the ball. They're also quite adept at attacking in the wide areas. They play with a lot of width and they aren't shy in crossing the ball. They've completed 442 crosses this season, which is second behind Liverpool. And we know Liverpool are literally just Trent and Robertson spam. So that tells you that they're looking to cross the ball in. And I think, that, again, this is something Luke Shaw's positioning, Aaron Wan-Bissaka's positioning. When they're the back man in the back four, they are vulnerable because they don't check their shoulders enough and they very much get drawn towards the ball. They're often facing the ball and they're not doing this. They're not opening their body out so they can see a man and see the ball coming in. Very often they're literally the opposite direction, coming late and running towards the ball rather than being ready for it because their positioning hasn't been set beforehand. An indication of Leeds' attacking prowess isn't just the 50 goals that they have scored this season, but it's also the intricacy of their football and how progressive and incisive that they can be in attack. Having 845 touches in the opponent's box, it's the 5th most in the league. That's only behind United, City, Liverpool and Chelsea. They're almost an elite side when it comes to a lot of the stats. But you look at the personnel that's in there providing those stats, you think you can improve upon the vast majority of them. And if they did improve upon the vast majority of them, Leeds would genuinely be inside the top 6 and pushing for a Champions League space. Now, how do United beat them? Well, I'm going to give you my 11 that I think is likely to play. And unfortunately, at this stage of the season, it's kind of shaken out into being this will be probably or very close to the 11. The only issue really is he going to squeeze Pogba in? And is he going to try and squeeze Mason Greenwood in? Outside of that, there's not too many options, I don't think, in terms of how this United side lines up. I think it'll be Hendo in net. I think it'll be Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, and Shaw as a back four. I think it will be Fred and McTominay. And I actually kind of think you need the legs and the energy of both of those players. I think he's going to move Rashford to the right. I think you nullify Rashford by playing him on the right, but I think he will do it. I think that finds a way to get Paul Pogba into the team with a little bit of a free roll. Bruno Fernandes is going to play. And if he's fit, if he's available, Edinson Cavani leads the line in the number 9. Now, with the fact that Leeds are so adaptable, with Bielsa being such a football intellectualist, he is bound to attempt some sort of plan to right the wrongs of the fixture at Old Trafford. I'm sure of it. Everything about Manchester United's style of play is kryptonite to the way Leeds set up. First and foremost, we've got to try to match the intensity, and that's where McTominay and Fred come in. Two players that have been often correctly criticised for their quality on the ball, but two players that I don't think you can question when it comes to work rate off the ball, and that's why they're in here. Pogba might need to be a staple in midfield because Leeds' ability in defensive pressing, we can't afford to be sloppy and loose in possession. And if you've only got one outlet, i.e. Bruno, it's quite easy for them to just stick someone on him, like a Calvin Phillips, say don't leave him, stick to him like glue, and see what happens. That's why Scott McTominay popped up with 2 goals in the reverse fixture, because it's very easy to isolate and select one player that you're going to deal with, but you can't necessarily do that with 2 players or more players, which is why Scott found himself with so much freedom being able to bomb forward. Give Pogba that license, he does the exact same thing. Now, McTominay and Fred are going to need to be sharp because they are going to get pressed more so than in any other game that they play this year. The defence also has to be alert when playing out because that's something that United are pretty poor at, and it's also something that Leeds are going to be very effective at stopping. They're going to try and nick it high up the pitch and create chances when they do that. United have to make sure that these passes are crisp. That means people coming deep. That means someone being a long option. There's nothing wrong with being a long option, and especially if you're Paul Pogba, because I think he's got the physical abilities to be able to take the ball down. If he is a long option, he's also someone that can take the ball under pressure, turn and get a pass off, and then Manchester United are on the attack. Getting through that first wave of the press is the first thing. The midfield three is going to probably be a pivot of Calvin Phillips, Stuart Dallas, and Tyler Roberts. They're very dynamic and they all do something completely different in the pivot. They don't usually function like a regular midfield three. Calvin Phillips is the defensive anchor, and the 2 in front basically play like 2 attacking number 10s. They're pretty much forwards almost. They're very aggressive. They're very ambitious in the way they set up. The forward players for United are going to have a lot of opportunities. You almost see 2 sides in the lead side. The defensive 5 will almost operate independently from the attacking 5, and they sort of work in 2 sort of packs or units. And the space in between that, on the transition, is where Manchester United can get through, and that's where we can get in the mixer. When you bypass Calvin Phillips, the defensive line gets extremely disjointed. If you can pass it around him, and Manchester United get very good in those intricate little spaces, what happens is, because Leeds defend very aggressively, they don't defend passively. They literally go to the man and go to the ball, which means that you can drag their centre-halves out of position. This is where secondary movement comes in. This is where Bruno Fernandes is going to ghost in like a false 9 and find himself in the area with the goal bearing down in front of him. This is where Manchester United and the movement of Edinson Cavani off the ball is going to really fuck this Leeds team around. I would love to see Marcus off the left in this because I think he creates a lot of opportunities. But I think if it's him, if it's Greenwood, they're going to have an absolute field day because both of them are quite unpredictable in their movements. Both of them are extremely fast-footed, which means that when those Leeds defenders come in for them, they can knock the ball past them, they can knock the ball through them, they can play around them, and they're not physically quick enough to keep up with them. And also, they get dragged out of position horrendously. They do not hold the shape as a back four in the slightest. The centre-halves really get drawn to the ball, especially if Phillips misses it. Those 2 centre-halves come to the ball and there's a gaping hole in the middle of it. Inverted runs from the wide men, third man runs from the midfield. Leeds are going to give you the opportunities. You just have to take them. It's as simple as that. Positional fluidity, interchangeability. That's where Leeds' strength lies. It can also be their weakness because you just get dragged around. if you want to know a bit more about what I'm saying, all you have to do is go and don't look at Manchester United. Go and look at the shape of Leeds' defence in the 6-2, and you go, Steve, I know exactly what the fuck you're talking about. But also go and watch them against Spurs, watch them in some of their recent games, and you'll see these traits are all over the place. When the opposition bypass their midfield, they do often go to a back three. If the first defender has come out of there, one of the defenders comes out to try and engage the ball carrier, and then it's a narrow free. And I think the space that you get left and right of that three for the likes of Greenwood, the likes of Rashford to steam into, we're going to get them. We're going to get them. Leeds are also very susceptible to set pieces. Can we find Pogba? Can we get Cavani? Cavani scored some serious amount of headed goals this season. Let's keep doing that at set pieces. Can Maguire start really being a threat from set pieces that he was for England? Or can he be the dummy runner while Cavani or even Pogba go in front of the ball and try and get on it? These are all the questions that I want to see answered this weekend. Cheers for all the great comments on last week's preview as well. Really appreciate them. And if you want to know what I'm like on the sideline when I'm actually watching Paddock, I've been mic'd up for the last couple of games. It's bad, to be honest, but you can listen to my external monologue while we're playing if you're into that. The link for my Patreon group where those videos get posted is below. That helps support my channel. If you like these videos, check that out below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.